Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for joining us for Stars of Franchising.
Get ready for a roller coaster ride through the world of franchising as we bring you the best stories of inspiration and entrepreneurial grit and turning dreams into franchise realities.
That's right, Vinny. From emerging to global brands, we'll chat with the genius minds behind the magic. All brought to you by the Tariq Farid Franchise Institute at Babson College. I'm Ab.
And I'm Vini. Now, buckle up for some serious inspiration.
We are so honored and grateful to have a former Babson student, alum, and amazing entrepreneur, Victor Berny, here to join us. Welcome, Victor.
Hi, thank you, Ab. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. It's been a pleasure to come back and still keep contact with Babson. It's been a great part of my career, I guess, and I will talk more about it today. But generally, thanks a lot and glad to be here.
Great to have you. Well, we like to start off with finding out about your journey and what caused you to do what you do. So I'd love to hear a little background and then maybe tie that into your current franchising journey as well.
Yes, of course. So for us, I'm going to talk a lot about us because it's a family business, family owned, family started. It's been some generations that we've been working as a family business. The franchises have been a recent thing, basically compared to the whole history of the group. Um, but yeah, so we started as a hardware business, a family business just with hardware stores. I think we managed like 8 units in 2 states for like 20 years. Not much ambition there, just like the minimum to be um, comfortably living. And then something changed in a generation, and then we started to be more ambitious, more passionate, more aspiring uh, to something more. And then that changed. I think that changed the company. That changed how the way we see things, and that will connect also with how Babson helped me later on in my career. So yeah, I'm 28. I've been working on the company since I was 16, learning the business. I wanted to do an undergrad, for example, abroad, and my dad was like, I think if you want to study something specific, you can do that here and then use that time to learn the business. I think that would be more profitable in the long run. And though that was an amazing decision for starters, and yeah, what calls me to be here and work in this business and also with the family is I believe in something greater. I believe in a responsibility with my society to give dignified work and to give opportunities for everyone to have a career and to eventually take that fulfillment to their families.
This is great. Victor, again, welcome again uh, on this program. I want to start by again sort of saying, so highlighting the fact that in Mexico, the franchise industry is almost like a $80 billion business, and not just in Mexico, but Mexico and then the Caribbean. And in the next maybe 6 or 7 years, the projection that that might be doubled. What does that mean for you and for the future of your franchise businesses?
So, for well, it's as you mentioned, it's become a great part of Mexican business in general, of Mexican work, of opportunities, and to just the general brands that people see and how we identify ourselves and just what you want to have on the street. You're competing right now, hamburgers and pizzas with tacos, and it gives a sense um, of a global behavior for our country. It just feels like we're connected, like we're part of a bigger world. That opportunities are not they are not bounded to certain territory, and just the idea that much money is spent and received from franchising is just shows how much opportunity there is and how much of a profitable model you're having, and it just a lot of people in the last 10 years, I think, have just turned around and emphasized the relevancy of this model, and it's just, I think it's great. I think it's great having. I will mention that with some other brands, but having more partners, like working with brands that are more established, have more units in the whole nation, and just a better structure, give a easier way to work, and give more confidence and stability for new franchisees. And as I'm going to compare it to some other brands that are kind of new and not well developed because of the difference in time and the people that have invested on that brand, you work differently. So having more people turning the eye to look into the franchise concept, I think it's good for us and gives us a sense of stability and just secures our vision for the long run on this concept.
And before I turn it over to my colleague Ab, on that point, yes, you see it like in an optimistic way. To some extent, it also means more competition for you, not just
Yes.
there in the Campeche, the Cancun side, and also, those areas, because even beyond the bigger Mexico, the Central America, is more competition. And are you guys going to do something to sort of ride on that competition to say, okay, bring it on? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yes. So competition, it's still, I believe there's certain room for competition. Also, I think saturation is we love to use the concept of share of stomach for our KPIs. So we know that there cannot be that much competition. Like there will be two major competitors for us, maybe one. So we are confident that we can stay ahead of them. We usually, that also ties to our strategy of which brands we choose, which is focused a lot on consistency, excellence, on service, products, and obviously offering a fair, achievable price for most of the market. So I believe we just the pure operating part of the business, that we excel on that gives us. Sadly, some other franchisees don't work that well, maybe. Like they lack on the operating side. And just that extra that you get from doing well on operating a store just sets you apart immensely from your competition. So we're confident that through our operating part and choosing the right locations and brands, we'll be staying for the long run on the area.
Okay, thank you.
Well, you talk about choosing the right location and the right brands. How important is that local entrepreneurial intensity in franchising, Victor? And can you talk about the criteria you and the family used, maybe initially with Little Caesars and then Dunkin, to help our guests understand how you looked at what brands that may have been successful in other parts of the world, why it resonated or you thought would be successful in Merida and the Yucatan?
Yes, of course. So, for example, Little Caesars was the biggest turning point because we were just from being a hardware business. We just looked into the opportunity and the numbers weren't too good to just look around. You have to start looking at these opportunities not just as a restaurant owner, but as a business owner. And so look at the opportunities just in the cash flow numbers and just the projections. You don't have to know that it's a restaurant business to be caught, for your attention to be caught on that. So we chose Little Caesars. Actually, if we use the criteria we use right now, probably Little Caesars wouldn't have been a good option by the time, no? Because it was like more than 20 years ago that we started the process. We're actually at the moment the oldest franchisee for Little Caesars in Mexico. The ones that we started working with in 2004. They've sold the business, or they've left the business, and they've new franchisees have come on. So we're the oldest in the whole country. And after that, when we jumped to Dunkin, when we jumped to some other brands like Wingstop, we obviously got an invitation primarily from also people from Little Caesar. So that gives us a lot of confidence. I mentioned the structure. You don't want to come in blind and just like bring the brand. You don't know what type of support you're going to get from the franchisor.
Yeah.
You don't know what type of support you're going to have from people in the same country, because you need someone that you can bounce the ideas with, even if it's not the same territory for Mexico, but it's still Mexico, and you will have probably the same type of problems and the same type of market. So that gives us a lot of confidence. We look into something that has the structure to support being in Mexico, and we will get the support we need for logistics, for suppliers, all of that. And then from all the brands that have that available, we will be comparing. So how's the saturation of the market? How's the market doing? For example, we compare a lot to the tendencies that you have in the U.S., because Mexico tends to replicate in some later on the behaviors you have in the U.S. So, for example, coffee consumption went up a lot in the U.S. We started to think a lot about coffee, and also Mexico started to see a slight bump. We have to be there prepared for that. And then for chicken consumption, chicken is the most consumed protein in the whole country. So we started to look into that also. And because these brands offer the things I mentioned before, it was a clear winner into which brands we were going to bring into the territory.
That's fascinating. So I trust you're alluding to the Little Caesars may not have met your criteria just based on how many units they had at the time 20 years ago versus what you're looking now.
Yeah.
Okay, and what you're saying is, tell me if this is correct, that it's not only qualities of the franchisor, but the network of franchisees in your country, because you rely on that, right? Talk to a little bit about, is there a lot of collaboration with other Zs, and do you look at, brands that have other franchisees in your country so that you can rely on them as well as the franchisor? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. For example, for Dunkin, we started with an invitation. Like there was not a single store for Dunkin in the whole country when we got invited. So it's basically opening the market from scratch. And obviously, you don't want to do that because you don't feel confident. If you want to test something from scratch, you don't want to invest that much into something that's not secure. And you feel confident. So when we got an invitation, person that invited us was really smart. He got another one of the it was Little Caesars franchisees that got on board. So we knew how they work, and that gave us a lot of confidence to jump into the opportunity. Yeah. And after we've been working with the brand, we feel confident that we probably don't need that much reference to start to work with. At the moment, it gave us a lot of confidence to make that decision, but right now we don't take it as a major part. As long as the franchisor from the U.S. Gets us in contact with franchisees that are already in Mexico and show a model that's already working, and if they show us how they're tropicalizing the brand and how it has worked, we feel confident to work with them. And obviously, the projections that they are showing that they're a big major point of decision.
Right. Great.
Wow. So Victor, you at some point added almost simultaneously, 20 units.
Yes.
Many people will say that was crazy, to say the least.
Yeah.
If you just describe what were the challenges and opportunities that informed that crazy idea to launch into this like big time and opening 20 units? And what, if you look back, what would you do again? And then what would you never do again as a result?
Okay. Great question. So, for starters, I think the most important thing, it's how are you going to get the money? So, if you already have a business running, you're getting a consistent cash flow. You have to project that CapEx that you're going to put in the new stores and see how it's going to work out for you. So, see if you're going to have to get into debt. And that is a major part in opening the stores, right? Because then you're cutting something. I remember some things were getting paid, some suppliers were getting upset. It's just like, wait, we're just opening too much stores. Give us a minute. And I think that that was one of the major issues. Also, the time, like the timeline, because we have to import most of the equipment from the U.S. There's a lot of regulatory practices. So we got a lot of delays, and then you have to do your chronogram and your timestamps for everything, and it just gets some kind of tedious. And you have like installations there, but then the construction workers aren't done with that part, so they cannot install the machine. You have to fly someone again to. So the tip there would be, and the major concern would be having your timestamps aligned and knowing your lead times for everything will be a major part. Taking money and the timestamps, I think for specific regions would be well, for all regions, talent. I think talent is the most important from the other two, because if you have the other two, if you don't have the talent and the personnel to carry on the culture of your company and the vision and the mission, you'll be throwing your money away. I think that's the number one concern when we open a new store, when we open a new area. Who's going to be supervising that? Who's going to be in charge of the performance of those stores? And I think that was what was going into our minds mostly. And I think that part, it's just like a waterfall of talent that you start. If you do a good hiring method, it's just something that spreads through the company structure. And if you have we have a good store manager, then the supervisors are gonna have you're going to expect the same kind of performance for the supervisors, and eventually to the store managers, and of course to the crew in the stores. So I think that is a major concern for opening new stores, having enough talent and capable talent. They're going to be confident that the investment is going to be in good hands. So yeah, those will be the three major concerns for opening more stores.
And then what would you not do again?
Oh yeah, of course. So I would, as I mentioned, establish a better hiring method. Have a better structure. I've been reading. This book called Who. You probably know about it, and it just talks about how to have a good hiring method. Know what questions you need to ask. Prepare a good scorecard for the position, and then focus on people, not jack of all trades per se, but people that are focused on that. So if you're going to have a store manager that wants to drive you, you have perfect operations and excellence on product. So someone that has to focus on that. Don't hire a manager that needs to be also an expert or knowing about accountability. Just focus on what you need for that role. And I think that's what I would be doing different. We started to have a lot of jack of all trades, and that started to cause a problem because they were taking away focus from the things that we wanted them to do. So that made a little bit of communication problems. And then I think with that sorted out, probably dive more into debt. I think we limited ourselves with the amount of money we had. It's always kind of daunting to just think about the interest rate and all that. Like, oh, that's been taken away from my profitability. Yeah. Like, I don't want that. My EBIT is going to be lower, no? So maybe evaluate those opportunities more, and then don't be so afraid about debt. That would be the two major points I would be doing differently.
It's interesting to see Victor again reiterate the importance of process.
Yeah.
Having a process, being focused, and at the same time, just planning, not because you want to limit yourself, but knowing what we want to achieve and how do we get there, and then how are we going to sort of orchestrate or maybe marshal the resources and the people. Most important is the importance of leadership.
Most importantly,
this is just, it's interesting to see that reiterated.
Well, and yet we hear this myth sometimes, Victor, that, well, it's a franchise brand, it's going to run itself, but the best operators like yourselves and your team are in their stores and hiring teams. And you mentioned it early, which is fascinating, is your desire to make an impact and help people and their families, right, and grow. So tell us a little bit about the platform you built, and do you rotate people between the brands as you're scaling them as opportunities to go from store managers? Because that pathway is really important. Tell us a little bit about that, which could help our listeners understand sometimes within these multi-unit operating companies, there's a lot of opportunity if you're with the right team.
Yes. So because we're having such, just from starters, we've been hiring some positions for human resources, IT, everything. And the most mentioned aspect that they like comes up when you ask, like, why are you quitting your other job, or why are you leaving your other job? It's like, I don't see where I can grow. I don't see an opportunity of growth. I'm getting, they feel a limit on the company they're working for. And I think nobody wants to work for like staying the same and seeing like you're getting downsized and there's no opportunity on the horizon. So I believe we're a brand that's a company that's really easy to sell for new hires. And yeah, so right now I'm like right before I'm literally ending a meeting where we were evaluating a new director for operations for Dunkin. And we started to look for an outside hire, and we just had our position, our profile, the scorecard well set, and everything. We were looking around, and we are just like, I was with my dad, and it's like, oh, I'm looking at these curriculums, and it's like, yeah, maybe, but this guy's missing this, and the multi-state experience, we need that, and he hasn't done a lot of openings, and there's like, so this person in Little Caesars that is the person in charge of the operations in. So he has a better curriculum for all the outside hires. I'm looking, and it's like we contact the director of operations for Little Caesars. It's like, we're thinking of this person to take the operations for Dunkin. What do you think? And you put someone in instead of him. It's like, yeah, I've been waiting. I have a lot of people in line that have the capability to take a better position. So this would be great, because that would open up another position for someone to keep climbing. And we just did the announcement, and we had a little celebration here. He was really happy, and he's taking up the task. And that's something that keeps the people in check. Like they really want to be part of this. They really, this person was, like, for example, Little Caesars, the growth, that brand's kind of saturated on our area, so we're not opening that aggressively anymore. So they were kind of getting comfortable with that. So you don't want that. People want to get better. People want to grow. People want to and see that growth, the personal growth, together with the brand, and see the results in the long run. So for Dunkin, we have a 10-year plan. This person was out of his mind, and he's really excited to do a lot of work, and it's something that we've opened up. We've mentioned a lot for every new hire and for people that are already on the company strong.
Right, great stuff.
Victor, you are in a location that is like the desire of that most people would like to be, like in Cancun, a very tourist area, the Cancun and the surrounding area, the Campeche, the Quintana Roo region. And when it comes to getting the best talents, you're fighting. You're fighting to attract talents, and then at the same time fighting to retain them. In addition to the fact that many people that are there are also temporary workers. They want to go there, they have fun, and they do this for a while, and they move on. So what has been the challenges your company has faced in trying to attract people who really want to be part of the family in quote, who wants to come in, stay there, and then grow a career and learn this business? What has been your experiences so far?
Of course, definitely on the QSR business, you have a lot of rotation for the lowest, for the entry level positions. So we usually Um, we take, for example, we don't take, we have a certain percentage for students, for example, because they have a lot of change in their life. So they'll probably be there for half a year, just a year, get enough money to pay some student loans, and then just get out, right? So we have no trouble doing that. We actually support that. We just don't want to fill our crew, our whole roster with that, right? So for the retention, um, you have we try to build up just as the same a good structure, right? So they can see how often they can grow and where they can grow. So, for example, we implemented, and that was a good practice that we replicated from one of our franchisors of the guides. For example, Dunkin has a position that's called strategic crew. So these are not the manager. They're not a managerial position. They're not. They're like a crew, but they just have a better knowledge about. They have been more time working for the brand. They know the brand better. They perform uh, best in most of the areas. So it's a position that's differentiated with salary also, of course, and it's a platform that gives them an opportunity to take a managerial position later on. So I think that that aspiration, like being a crew member and just be like, okay, the only thing that I can aspire next is just being a manager, and then the manager is aspiring to be a supervisor, but that's not opening up. That's a clear contender for a retention strategy. So that's that strategic crew. We implemented that for all of our brands. So they have a differentiated salary, differentiated responsibilities, and we tell them, of course, that we're preparing them for a managerial position if that opens up anytime. And then for picking up the right people, we've doubled down on headhunters that are looking all the time for the right prospect, and then we have our the managers, and we really don't even ask like if the roster is already full. We keep hiring because they're probably sadly there's going to be a rotation. So we keep hiring for that good prospect. If someone comes in the window and it's a great candidate for the role, we don't say no because we have a full roster. We just take them, training, and then the store is going to open up in like a couple of months because we're opening monthly. So they don't have. There's got to be work for them. So we focus on being hiring the right talent instead of let's fill our roster with the people like your store. So yeah, that's kind of we get the right talent, then how we motivate it and retain them.
This is really interesting because as we've seen time and time again, uh, people saying that okay, now you can have the playbook, you have the process,
Yeah.
but people,
Yes.
people. I mean, your culture, your people, and at the end of the day, make all the big difference.
Right. Right.
This is just it's just amazing to see that playing out. I know it's a challenging situation for you, but the whole like concept of continuous recruitment, you never know.
Right.
But keep your doors open for the talent, and then when the time comes, the opportunity comes, we keep them, and then we
Right.
just get them ready for the next opportunity.
And I'm sure the franchisor sees that because they're bringing you probably new brands and want you to grow, right? Let's talk a little bit about, since you're with multiple brands and evaluating growth opportunities, what do the best franchisors do? Not only for international partners, but just in general, now that you reflect on your experience with multiple brands and even the brands that evolve, right, under different leadership. What do the best ones do, Victor?
So yeah, great question. For the multi-brand, we obviously treat with. We've come to have a criteria of what's a good franchisor or not because there's also some that have good practices that we wish the other one had and vice versa. So it's not that we have a perfect one and a worse one is. Some of them do better things than the others. So one thing that is crucial, I believe, for a franchisee to look out for is the trust they're giving you as a franchisee. They're probably choosing you as a franchisee because they see something in you, and if they're gonna treat you like you're just someone that starting from scratch, that's not going to be good because they're also using you as a strategic partner. The ones that look at you as a strategic partner to manage their growth and someone that knows the territory better than them tells a lot about them. It gives you a lot of room to work. I remember specifically we had one of the brands, for not mentioning, we were having trouble for like the store model that we were using. And we were suggesting so we want to do another store model. It's a really big store. We want to do smaller stores because the stores we're spending a lot on the roster and it's not getting a lot of traffic. We can do smaller stores and then focus on third-party apps and all that. And there's no, this is the model we're using. You have to stick to that. No questions asked. It's that's a bad practice. Yeah. And then also another thing that maybe people think maybe we'll take it as a bad aspect of a franchisor, but it's something that we love. It's they keep you in check all the time. Yeah. So we have a brand that sends us, I think, a supervisor from them once a month, even twice a month for each store. And then we have some of them that we've seen them once a year if we're lucky. And you don't want that, of course. Yeah. They should be equally worried of the state of your store and the profitability of the store as you are, because you also want to see that money that you as a business owner, you of course you always reinvest what you're generating. Exactly. Company, that's what you're expecting from them. So you're getting my royalties, you're getting a marketing fee. So where is that money going? Is that going to the structure to supervise me to take care of the investment, which is also mine? So you want to have that supervision from them. You need them to be worried most of the time. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a sign of care and priorities. And then also the thing I mentioned, the trust. Trust is really important. And then of course the easiness of the freedom you get for logistics also. Yeah. We had troubles for brands saying you specifically have to work with this supplier. We're not evaluating the possibility of getting a new supplier for that specific product. So you have to stick to that. We're having these problems. It's no, you have to stick with that and no questions asked. So that part of openness from the franchisor, that interest for the franchisee to be as profitable as you're being with the royalties, that reciprocity is the thing you're looking for a franchisor.
Right. So your unit economics should be a priority for them, and you want to be held accountable. But also, it sounds like trust, transparency, and their willingness to listen to your knowledge of the local market is important. That's great stuff, Vinny.
And then maybe unit analysis at the same time also, the franchisor really going the extra mile to take care of everyone in the trenches. Yeah. Those in the trenches are the ones trying to make those numbers. And if we're not taking care of them, taking care of the franchisees that are in the trenches trying to bring that in, then you don't see anything above the ground. So this is great. Victor, I'm going to take you back again to some peculiarities surrounding what you do, because up till now you've continued to accumulate, to acquire all these foreign brands, mainly from the United States. Now, typically, some franchisees have the opportunity to do some adaptation, maybe the way the chicken tastes, or the sauce or something. Okay, maybe you want to have a mole sauce because we're in Mexico, or you want to have something there. Because the locals, you expect mainly the locals that are going to come into those stores. Now, at the same time, you are in a situation where a lot of tourists are in that place. And then they will get to start comparing Little Caesar in the U.S. to the way Little Caesar tastes in Cancun.
Yes.
So are you seeing that? Because you're having to deal with both locals and tourists. And I'm constantly comparing. How do you strike a balance in trying to be local at the same time to still represent that international brand? You go in the United States, the Little Caesar, the Wingstop, and all these things, it's going to be the same experience you have here without sacrificing the local idiosyncrasies in the way the food tastes.
Okay. So thankfully, we haven't had that major problem. For example, I think the bad thing would be um, you see with Coca-Cola, like I think like Coca-Cola has taken that advantage of um, that in Mexico the Coke tastes better because we're using a different type of sweetener.
Mm.
They've been started to brand that in the U.S. as like Mexican Coke. So it's not usually a bad thing for us. So I think we have the same quality of product. We haven't seen some major adaptations. For example, I was talking to someone with Little Caesars about I think Cambodia, and they do all their proteins are seafood. So they'll be instead of pepperoni, they will do shrimp. They will do white fish.
Wow.
It's really peculiar stuff they
Yeah.
have to adapt. Thankfully, we're not that far away to the U.S. Like people are really well adapted to what it's consumed. It's really close by. For the tourists, I don't think we have a specific. I think, for example, we had trouble for Little Caesars. The only product that I think we didn't have because it didn't make the market. It didn't make it for the Mexican market. Was, for example, the pretzel crust.
Pretzel crust.
It was something that wasn't resonating with the market. They did the tests, and the pretzel crust just didn't make it into the LTO, to the limited time offer for the Mexican market. And it's fine. We trust that. We ask for a lot of stuff. Like, why isn't it coming? They're really transparent again. It's not built for the Mexican market. It's not going to make it. It's not resonating well with our test groups, with our focus groups. But for example, for Dunkin, we have we compensate the small things we don't have with some things of our own. So we started to do you have the culares, the fruit culares, and all that. We started to do that with spicy with chamoy, which is the sweet chili.
Chili.
So and then we also launched last month the horchata flavor. So we have to all your coffees, your latte, your macchiatos, you can add horchata.
You have horchata in Dunkin? In Dunkin, horchata?
We have, or you can flavor your.
You're kidding me?
I saw it on the menu board.
Yeah, and we try to do the tropicalization, and it's something that resonates great with the Mexican market. It's that aggregated value, and then for the foreign market, it's like, oh, you have something different. It's like you have something added, and I want to see that sense of authenticity on your brand. Like, make it yours, make it for the territory. So we haven't had that major disappointment, thankfully.
So on the contrary, it's appears that you're getting the best of the two worlds.
Yeah, we're getting the best of two worlds. For example, when we do, the only problem we have is Dunkin has a lot of promotions and specific partnerships with like famous people and all that. They do for like influencers and singers. They make a drink with their name. We cannot use that to promote it as their name because we don't have the rights for the country, but we do the same recipe. And when they ask for that, we don't have it on the menu as that, but we just make the drink from scratch. So we don't have that problem with them. We try to keep up with that, and we just try to stay relevant.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Victor, this has been great. I'd love for you to maybe give some advice to aspiring entrepreneurs or existing franchisees that are looking to scale their businesses. From what you learned as an operator and hopefully from your time here at Babson with our Tariq Farid Franchise Institute, how about a few lessons for those folks out there?
Of course. For what Babson taught me, and I think it's become part of the tips that I'm going to give, which I believe are crucial. It's you can feel really lost, like you don't know where to start, and you just don't feel you're not confident, right? What Babson brought me back, it's just like, so I'm just like I don't know, a business owner from a part of Mexico, and there's probably going to be a lot of people with a lot of knowledge and passion and all that, and for financials, and you probably don't need that much, right? I think Babson gave me back my I became confident again. I started to look
exactly,
be a technological business, and that don't be afraid. Start talking. If you're just evaluating the possibility, you don't have to jump straight into a contract. You can start talking to most of the franchisors. I believe they'll be really interested in talking to you just to see where you come from, to see where you want to be, and also see if you're a good fit with that brand, right? Because also that culture, you're gonna be listening from them. You guys to resonate with the thing you want to share on your territory, because that will help a lot with just having synchronized efforts for everyone. Yeah.
Great stuff.
But this is
Vinny, last thoughts.
This is awesome, Victor. It's really great to be able to connect with you after you're coming here to Babson, and then you're going back there home, and just leveraging that new renewed enthusiasm, renewed confidence that things can be done. Going there back home to be the change maker. And then to hopefully you continue to infuse that or engender that in the people around you. So it's really great. I want to say thank you for everything you've shared with us. Again, chapeau for doing so many things in so short a time. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having the time. It's a project that I've been loving just the passion you have for this project and the things you want to acquire and achieve. Is just, as I mentioned, it goes back to what I'm saying, listening all of this from different people and that come from different backgrounds. Like we're just a hardware store with like 8 units, and it's just like you have to have that passion, you have to have that vision. And as something I acquired also from Babson, I have a bigger vision now, and not staying comfortable. It's just a bad thing for this side of things. So thanks a lot for the time. I appreciate having some time to mention all of this, or all of my experiences. It's been a great pleasure. Really, thanks a lot.
Oh, it's so great to be back together, Victor. Keep up the awesome work. You're a great example of Babson, and I love it. You took action and think big, and then think bigger, and keep looking for ways to scale. And as you said, better than we can. Franchising offers a good pathway for that. All right, well, great job, and look forward to catching up with you soon, having you back here home at Babson on campus, and hopefully the two of us will be down there in Mexico to see you and go see some of the stores like I got to do.
Yeah, anytime you could do a road trip, a field trip with the students. We're open here. These stores are Babson stores. Don't worry about that.
That sounds great.
Wow.
All right, buddy.
Okay.
Mexico lindo.
Take care. Thanks.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Stars of Franchising.
Stars of Franchising was produced at Babson College, engineered by Travis Gray. Karen Soa is our guest coordinator, and music by Ralph Taylor.
If you like Stars of Franchising, be sure to review us wherever you get your podcasts, and spread the word and share these stories any way you can.